Today we're going to build upon the previous two Spark videos I shot. The first one I showed you how to data log your timing, and in the second one I showed you borderline Spark and how to adjust those tables. Now, just a reminder, your borderline Spark is slightly lower than your MBT tables. The other thing to note is when the factory sets up their tunes, they've got a lot of goals in mind. They've got emissions, they've got miles per gallon, they've got drivability, they've got performance, they've got all these goals that they have to hit or these targets they have to hit. Well, ours are quite a bit simpler. We're maximizing for horsepower and quarter mile times. What a lot of tuning on factory ECUs is rolling back limiters that the factory has put in place. That's what you're going to see me do today. Now, I'm in the Spark tab of our VCM editor in a Gen 1 Coyote in the advanced section. Now, I'm going to start by rolling back our pre-ignition limiter here. As you can see, it's got limits on our timing and these values here. So I'm just going to grab this. Well, let's highlight these. I'm just going to make these 63. And then we've got a spark adjusting table. And in this spark adjusting table, it's got our lambda here. So if your car's lean, it advances timing. If it's too rich, it pulls timing back. Well, I don't want this table factoring into my totals of my spark, so I'm going to zero this out as well. Cylinder pressure limits. You can set these to however you need or whatever you need. Let's say you're going to run no more than 35 degrees max. And you can set that there. And let's say you're okay with these here being at 63.5. Okay, boom. Now, our temp modifier. So on the top we've got our air charge temp, and then we've got our engine coolant temp. And as you can see, this table modifies the timing output there. I don't typically mess with this table that much, but I just wanted to point out it's available. In my particular car's tune, I've got it zeroed out. So I'll just zero it out for this example. Okay. All right, now let's jump up to our cylinder to cylinder offset here. Now this is a multiplier. So we've got -2 degrees of timing in these areas here. And it is multiplied by our cylinder trims. Now we can see here in cylinder 5 it's zeroed from the factory, and cylinder 4 is populated. So that -2 multiplied by 1.5 is going to be -3 degrees that it subtracts out of that cylinder's timing advance. I'm going to zero these out. Let me check all these. Okay, we're done there. Tip and retard. So anytime you mesh the gas down, the car automatically yanks timing advance, and this is the table that adjusts that. So you can see if your load's at 50% or greater and you mesh the pedal at 4,000 RPMs, it'll yank 5 degrees of timing right off the hit. I'd like to roll these back. Let's say we've got a really good fuel. I'm going to roll this back to -1 right there, and I'm going to roll this back to -5. All right. Okay, let's go look at these tables. Let's look at our IAT and our ECT. So this here is a multiplier. You can see the base table and the multiplier here. And try to pull both of these multiplier and the base table up at the same time for our air temperature here. Okay, so let's say that we are at 4,000 RPMs and 85% load. Then this is our multiplier. And well, then let's say our air inlet temp is 200 degrees because you live in Phoenix and you've been idling at a stoplight. So that means we have a negative 100, and we multiply that by the value we chose here. So we're 0.098 foo bar in that. 8. Okay, so if your engine has an inlet air temp of 200 degrees and you're at 4,000 RPMs, then your car will pull nearly 10 degrees of timing. You can adjust this however you wish. You can also adjust the column. So you can always rescale this. You could say, okay, so this, we're going to do 130 degrees. Temperature, this one's going to be 150, and then anything over 200, okay? So now we've rescaled that table, and now we're going to make a few adjustments here. I typically will zero this section, I'll typically zero this section out for E85. And then once we start getting to 150 degree inlet temp, we need to start trickling back timing. And I'm just going to plug a value. You'll have to figure out what works best for your fuel and combination. And this I'm going to make negative 50. Okay. Okay, so engine coolant temp, same thing as your IAT. You've got your spark table here, and then you've got your multiplier here. So, let me see what we've got. Typically, you zero that out. You get away zeroing this one out. Now, all these values I'm plugging in are going to be very dependent on your vehicle and the fuel you run. So you have to figure out what works best for your combo. I'm just showing you how to roll back these limiters. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. Okay, let's go over here to this piston rattle here. As you can see in this section, we've got some retard in these RPMs. Zero those out. Now, I want to re-emphasize this. If you're on bad gas, you need to leave some of these limiters in place. But if you're on E85, you've got a lot of leeway, and you can roll back these limiters. Okay, so we've rolled back our piston rattle. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys today. Like I said, it's going to be rolling back a lot of limiters and unlocking the potential of your car's motor.